everyone, and welcome to the Franklin Board of Education meeting for August 14th, 2024. The meeting has been properly posted. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Yank. Here. Mr. Sprague.
Here.
Dr. Beer.
Here.
Mrs. Sapersky.
Here.
Dr. Khan is excused. Mrs. Witkowski.
Here.
We are all present.
Thank you. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Witkowski, seconded by Mrs. Sapersky. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Community comment. There's one person signed up for community comment. 3 minutes or under, please. Mary Karolewicz, please.
I promise. Props.
Yeah, this is.
Mary Karolewicz, 8208 West Coventry Drive. I'm here on behalf of the FPEA. I would like to personally thank Ms. Lancour, Ms. Bennon, Mr. Sprague, and the board as a whole for allowing our organization to meet the new teachers at the middle school. It was really nice to see them and kind of get a feel for who will be coming on board. I met the one teacher that were hired at Pleasant View. I think this will be great. There was only one teacher that left, and that was because she moved to Illinois. So I was very excited to meet her. She seems like she'll be an awesome addition to the 5th grade, which is where I'm going to be working this year. So I'm very excited. And then I only have one comment about the budget presentation. It would have been nice to have those slides that you showed in the packet. That's why I was asking about the debt service thing, because I couldn't find that information. So if that would have been in our packet, I think that would have been very helpful. Anyway, thank you. I wish you the best of luck this year. I'll welcome Amanda. I met Amanda. And I think it'll be a good year. And I'm going to offer you the little gift bags that we gave to the teachers. And hope that you enjoy whatever's in there. If you can't use the stuff, give it to your kids or another teacher. And,
Thanks, Mary.
Somebody make sure Mr. Khan gets
Dr. Khan, yes.
It's very sweet, Mary. Thank you.
That's awesome.
I appreciate the
You are worth it.
sentiment.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. I was all ready for a presentation.
She doesn't have that many.
You're a curveball.
She doesn't have that many layers on tonight.
I know, but I was ready for what was coming out of the bag.
So kind of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All kinds of fun stuff.
Darling.
Did you see what's in here?
Wait.
Food alone. I know, I saw that.
All right, thank you. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Sapersky, seconded by Mrs. Larson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. One note in there, I'd like to thank Mr. Anderson for all his service to the district over the last 30 years. He'll
Absolutely.
be retiring
Oh
at
my
the beginning
gosh,
of next
I couldn't
year.
believe that when I saw it. Thought it was a typo. Hoped it was a typo.
Good for him.
It's not.
Regular school board calendar, regular Board of Education meeting Wednesday, September 11th, 2024 at the ECC at 6. FHS Homecoming Parade Wednesday, September 25th, 2024 at 5:30. And regular Board of Education meeting Wednesday, September 25th, 2024 at the ECC at 6:30. So we'll have to hustle through the parade so we can get back here.
Well, if it's raining like last year, we'll go real fast. So.
District Administrator update, Mrs. Bennon, please.
All right, good evening. So it's been a little over a month since we've been together as a board. It's been busy in the district, just as we are in hiring season and now fully geared in for the new school year with staff around for New Teacher Week, for Leadership Summit, for Savas kickoff. I always have to slow down when I say that. And so it's a really exciting time to be in the district. Last week we had our second annual leadership summit. I know I've talked about it a few times, maybe ad nauseum, but it is really exciting when you have a lot of the same people back in the same room, talking about the next level of tools we can use, goal setting we can have. Mark Grunsky said it best. He's our data person in the district, that the conversations he was in and out of with all the schools were so much deeper and at such a closer level to the students and the learning than even a year ago, that it's really a big celebration to everybody's commitment. So that was an exciting moment for all of us. We did shout outs again this year, and there were hundreds of them in the room, just to other people in the room for conversations they were having, whether they were candid, whether they were pushing each other to think deeper about the data, whether they were just celebrating each other. I think it was just a really nice culture builder also, and get us geared up for the year. So from there, each of those school teams may meet again before all staff is back. And then on our third professional development day, when we're back in the district, the buildings are all focused on sharing those school improvement goals with their school improvement team really leading that. And then this is the second year of our engagement teams that every school will have. So every staff member will either be a part of a learner engagement team, staff engagement team, or family. And that's driven off the feedback from the surveys we give annually, and then strategic steps they put in. Another new piece that we've brought in that the whole district will be implementing this year is empathy interviews, which is really getting to what we call street level data of understanding what are the experience of our students, where are they adapting and feeling welcome in schools, where might that not be, and just kind of who they are and how we can help adapt more personally to their needs. So we're excited for that. This week, we welcome back 9th graders for their transition days, so just a few days of getting to know the high school and getting ready for the big shift coming in September. They'll be with us on the first day of school, September 3rd. The rest of the high school starts on September 4th. Next week, we welcome 6th graders that are coming in for their transition day, getting adapted to Forest Park and kind of understanding what schedule looks like and the flow of the building, getting lockers, things like that. I wanted to thank Laura and the HR department for setting up New Teacher Week, which was the last couple days, well, yesterday and today, I should say. Teaching and Learning for getting all the resources to our staff, even in those new days, but then also on Monday with our new resource coming in. Mike was there yesterday to greet our new staff, and we adapted our schedule this year to be 2 days instead of 4, and to really build some collegiality through the group. So there was a lot of getting to know each other in their buildings, in their grade bands, and then as a whole district. It was great to have the whole leadership team there as part of that activity also. And we have mentors and buddies. So mentors are new to education. Buddies are joining us, but maybe they've been in education before. That just help them get acclimated, A, to the district, and B, to maybe education if that's new for them. Tomorrow night, the Ed Foundation hosts the Milkman game. Hopefully the rain holds off. It's not looking real promising at this time, but hopefully we have a good show. It's a really nice opportunity to meet the PTOs, learn a little more about our referendum coming up and a variety of other resources that are there, along with enjoying the game. And then the educator awards that the Ed Foundation runs every year are announced at that event. And just an update on work that we're doing to continue to get the word out about the referendum so people can be informed. Yesterday, there were about, 11 of us, 12 of us that jumped in 5 different vehicles, went to about 70 different businesses or churches in the community to just share information about how to access things about the referendum so people can be informed when they go to the booth on November 5th and vote. And then next Friday will be our first information table set up at the first home football game. We're also going to do tours of the high school, either guided at 6 o'clock or self-guided will be set up with access to the building before the game or at halftime if that's a time that you'd want to go in. And finally, it was exciting. The week before last, we partnered with the Autism Society. Leo Ekman set up a number of opportunities that we've partnered with them. And in this one, it's called the I Can Ride. And it's for students that have autism to learn how to ride a two-wheeler, because there's a lot of data to say, like often they don't learn that, or students with Down syndrome. Jess and I walked over and enjoyed the event for part of the day. It was great to see kids again. We were missing them from summer learning the week prior. And there were students that were learning on a bike with kind of like a trainer wheel on the back. There were some students that were on a tandem bike, And then the ultimate is that they're riding their own bike, that they bring a two-wheeler at the end of the week. And they have about, I think they said, an 80% success rate. But it was neat to see the smiles. It was neat to see some of our own students from Franklin that were part of it, and some of our own high school students or graduates that were volunteering. So we're excited to continue to partner with them for that event, and then look for some more events this spring that Leo has scheduled for some family partnership nights. We're going to do a family outreach this whole school year. So we have an event planned basically every month, and we'll be rolling that out to the community within the next couple weeks. So thank you, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Reports, presentations, and other board business. Ed for employment update. Dr. Moe, Mr. Volo, Mr. Thompson, please.
I did put two documents in front of you. One is a stapled document. That is the Ed for Employment Plan that you saw last Friday, but remember we were holding on some of those totals, so that the only thing that has changed is we added the college and career readiness totals. So just for your reference, that was shared. And the other piece of paper should be a single page that you've seen in years previous with college and career ready data. So that, full transparency, I guess the good news and bad news of improving is our credentials continued to trickle in late into summer. So we were trying to catch up. You need all the data to run the totals. So we ran that data of summer credentials. That's what we were waiting for, and you'll see this document's been updated. Just before I turn it over to Mr. Volo and Mr. Thompson, one commitment that Mark Grunsky and I have made as we start in the new coherence plan and as we work from transitioning from EDIS, if you remember that was our old student data system, to our new system called NextPath, we said we've taken the time to, as Mark would say, line by line, code by code, make sure we have the data we want. So you'll see there's some discrepancies, good and bad, right? If in the 2024 numbers in this document than 2023. So we changed and adjusted some of the ways that we were calculating. For instance, if you look at the top right, the attendance rate, that's a student's attendance rate in freshman year. So for instance, our formula previously was you take the current seniors, you look at their attendance rate freshman year, and what the magic spreadsheet was doing was if there was an NA, meaning the student wasn't a freshman with us, it was counting as a yes, they're at 90%. In actuality, we should be pulling that out of what we would call the numerator and the denominator. It was not anybody doing anything funny. It's an automatic formula that runs in a cell. Mark cross-referenced that data, like, you know what? We really should have 30 less kids, 31 kids I think it was, that were here with us when they were seniors, but were not here with us when they were freshmen. So it is not anything sneaky or on purpose. It's just we're using this as an opportunity to check every formula. So if you have questions like that, I'm happy to answer. I prefer to not focus on that, but certainly if you're noticing something, ask, because it is likely in the countless hours of work Mark has done there's days where you just want to do it the same and let the little cell do its work, but it's been a really good opportunity. We've learned a ton about calculating. So I will turn it over to Mr. Volo and Mr. Thompson. I would like to take this opportunity to say, number one, it's very nice to have a high school principal who is committed and involved in college and career readiness type of things like Mr. Volo is. That's not something you get everywhere. And to have a Mr. Thompson in and of itself is huge. You'll notice by our numbers, to have someone dedicated to this work has increased a lot of opportunities for kids tenfold. So I'd just like to thank them. Go ahead, share the highlights. Highlight reel.
And you'll notice there's obviously updated numbers in terms of things like work-based or community-based learning experiences, credentials, etc. So we continue to be proud of those things. And again, to Jess's point, opportunities and outcomes for some doesn't mean for all. So as we think about equity in our system, that really is the really hard work is continue to get better. And how can we do things differently so we get better and continue to strive where we ensure all students have these experiences. And if you recall from the college career readiness, it's two of the career readiness indicators say you're career ready. It is GPA plus one of the next three, or ACT readiness that gives you the college readiness. So just a reminder of how those metrics work from the Redefining Ready, framework that we've had since, I think, 2017, give or take. Some things I just want to highlight in terms of our next steps and things we're going to be really working on this year. So, this profile of a graduate is a continued area of focus. Our career pathways, so we'll be coming to you in about a month and a half or a month or so to talk about new courses. Educator pathway number 2, theater pathway new. And obviously, it's only with your support that we continue to add things like that and can explore adding that. And I'd like to also take this opportunity to say that when we talk about Franklin Forward and the opportunities that possibly presents in our school, that also can expand how many students can be served by these different experiences. So CTE courses are only taken if kids take them. If they don't, we'll never know what they can't do. So when we think about these experiences, it really is something that if you don't take the intro class, you don't take the second one, the third one, or the capstone, you don't have the internship, the apprenticeship, et cetera. But we're really proud of some of the things we've done, and Andy's really focused a lot on like the quality and the depth of experience, as well as just trying to make sure as often as possible students have a youth apprenticeship versus an internship. And I thought that could be a great thing for Andy to highlight, just that difference between youth apprenticeship versus apprenticeships, and then we can take any questions you all have.
Yeah, some of the highlights that I kind of wrote down was, you'll notice, youth apprenticeships have continued to grow. That's something that is very passionate for myself and something that we want to see grow because it's a really deep, enriching experience for students. And I think, a big success of that has been our hiring events that we've hosted. We have one next week that's a healthcare one. Our trades event, I'm sure if you weren't there, you maybe saw it on the news. It was really successful, and a lot of students showed up and they followed them and they got, a job offer by the end. And I think that those have been a tremendous help. We're in a great place, just in the employment landscape as far as it goes of needing people out there in the trades and other areas and in healthcare. So that's been great. I think that, with the youth apprenticeship and our hiring events, and Mike touched on kind of the educator pathway, there's always kind of been success with a lot of the healthcare summits because we're looking at opportunities to involve some maybe students to more just learning what things are. So if, starting at the freshman level, what are just some like hands-on ways to job shadow and do some other things, and kind of building that knowledge base and kind of see that. Kind of anecdotally, something that I've seen as a success with youth apprenticeship that I can speak to is when students are emailing me after their junior year, they've completed one, wanting to switch into something else, I see that as a success. I had 2 over the summer. One emailed me, and she did CNA for about a year, and she's switching into pharmacy tech and being a pharmacy technician. So, that's great that you've identified that and done all that work before you even graduate high school. And those are the types of things that I like to hear, as those stories. And if you come to the end of your breakfast or other events that we kind of host, those are the things and the data that's kind of nice to hear. It's those 1-minute stories from students of how they've kind of found themselves, their confidence has grown, and they've kind of just grown as people and identified what they want to do. So I think that what Mike kind of spoke to, and that kind of summarized kind of everything that I had for the year as well. So any questions that you have?
And to connect to, you heard empathy interviews referenced in this idea of data directly from our students and their experience. Like that's the sort of data that qualitatively, like we can talk about, we have more career-based or community-based learning experiences. Yep, that's quantifiable. And when students share what that meant for them, how it impacted them and their outcomes. And it's not something that happens at every high school. So, when we give tours to prospective families, everything else, like kids can do great in any number of schools, Southeast Wisconsin, and the experiences that our students have really aren't common, and the frequency of those experiences and just how they approach it. And, think I have advisees who are going to be juniors, and they're planning, hoping, knowing that they want to have one of these experiences next year as a junior or as a senior, right? And they've, been told for now 2 years, but more than that, even before they come to the high school, if they're a Forest Park student, that this is part of just what you do. Right, and you do it because it does make your life so much more, I guess, makes you ready for life, I should say, because you know what you want to do, you maybe have a better idea what you don't, and having those experiences with us and our support, better support, better outcomes, and it's incredibly cheaper for students, right? The CNA course, the outcomes, the job, and the experience goes with it. You really can't, replicate if a student says, I want to go into healthcare. Okay, well, do you? Like, well, let's find out. Get those experiences. And, Andy won't toot his own horn, but, Andy really is, bringing to our school, medical, job fairs, other things. And we're trying to, make that be part of our family engagement work as well, because, how can we get people into the high school, for beyond the open house conferences, which, frankly, haven't had the attendance that we'd like. or the impact we'd like. And no offense if you're a high school parent and you've chosen not to go to those as much in the past years. I know sometimes I've been like, maybe I'll go, maybe I won't. But again, like there's only so much time in the day. So how do we couple, open house with this, or how do we couple fall conferences with the education fair or other things that let's get you in that building, But then we look at hiring events, other things, reasons to get students, especially in our building, and if their parents come too, that's great.
Angie, please.
I just want to say nice things. So this is a huge source of pride for me when I talk to people from other districts. Yes, it's a huge source of pride, and I love that in Franklin there are lots of ways, and an increasingly growing number of ways for students sort of to win at high school, right? It's not like when I went to school and there might have been 2 paths, and that was how you succeeded at that stage of your life. And it's nice to see, both for college and career readiness, but just also for these kids as people who have to live their lives every day, that there are multiple ways to succeed. And just, again, anecdotally, the number of kids who identify Mr. Thompson as a source of information has been really impressive to me. Like, they name check him quite a bit. So you've done good work, Angie.
Thank you.
Linda, please.
Yes, when I look at this, I wonder about the driver's license. That's a key credential, but yet we no longer do that at high school, right? We don't, or do we? I don't even know what.
No. We do not, and I don't know. Like in my experience, and I haven't worked at a high school that offered it since I've been like in education professionally. So I don't know when it went away in Franklin, but like it was part of my high school when I grew up, and I don't know when that shift happened.
But we still we connect them with a.
Yes.
Yeah.
Connect them.
There's one that's connected with the high school.
They pick the kids
with
up in
Franklin
the
High School.
parking lot there.
And then they drive around my neighborhood.
The course happens in the classroom. They sort of go through community rec and ed. But to your point, like transportation will remain, especially in Franklin, but also for these opportunities, a barrier to access. So when we think about like what can we bring in our space? What can we students who do CNA, knock on whatever this is they do all right, and they get to New Berlin right now because MATC's been unable to meet our needs in the past few years. So we have to work with WCTC, and then New Berlin, their schools have a space that we can use and have our students participate in. That means our kids have to get to New Berlin, and they do, right? Like figure it out, but like that's a barrier, right? Like so students like have to get there, and that means they have to have a car or a friend with a car and a license and all those things that go with that.
Even it's a barrier, but really as a credential. You should come out of high school with a driver's license. Do we all think we should be doing that? And it's huge if you come out of high school without that. And do we even know how many of our kids have driver's license? Or I've just seen, just anecdotally as we are sharing, that there seems to be more kids that they come out of high school and they don't have a driver's license.
Or they wait till they're 18.
I was gonna say, not every kid wants to either.
I have 2 who don't.
That's different, right? Like so, there has been like more students. Again, anecdotally, we don't track it. So there's more students in my experience now who like they don't look at 16, get a license, etc. as something that they really want to do. They're not really interested in that. And again, like it's not something that everybody wants, but. If you go to the Business Park Consortium and, hear those folks talk, getting employees into their buildings requires transportation sometimes. So that's one of their biggest things that we've heard for all the time I've been here and, the time Andy as well. But those employers, really struggle with getting people in there because there isn't a lot of public transportation that links them to those spots.
And another thing, I know we talk about these work experiences, but I also noticed in when you did your check-in celebration of that program, I was amazed at how many of these kids are working. They all have jobs while they're trying to finish high school. But yet that, again, is nowhere in any of this work either. These jobs that they just have, like the traditional jobs that kids had in high school. It's not part of any of our planning here. It happens outside this? Or what about that?
It can be a mix. I think the biggest thing with like the youth apprenticeships, they have to be paid. They have to work so many hours in a year. So they have to be like, and even the community internships for the state requirements, like students have to be in paid opportunities. So like jobs. And that's one of the things that makes things like education, right? So if education is going to be youth apprenticeship outside of daycare or childcare, which has some limits, we have students who work in kids club. It's hard to do that. But to that point, like the depth of experience then requires more than just employment and a paycheck. It's employment, paycheck, and then certain indicators that Andy could probably speak to better. But like the depth of experience is not just I have a job, right? Like my son stocks shelves. No offense, he does a great job, I'm sure, stocking shelves at the local metro market. But also like he shouldn't get high school credit for that. He stocks shelves. So it's a great thing. He's learning things, but he has no career connection to it. He works, 20 hours a week and stock shelves.
What we count here has to be connected to one of those career pathways, so that's the state rule. So that's one barrier, I would say. The other thing for youth apprenticeship, it's 450 hours, which
It's a lot.
limits a lot of kids who play sports or something like that who maybe are working, but that's about 12-ish hours a week year-round could be, so they sometimes bank in the summer and sometimes they can work, but not that much, and then we can't count it to your.
I'm just saying from our tracking here and our own monitoring, I think there's still value in having a job.
To just know that number.
Yeah, right, just to know, that's no work experience, we always.
There is, but it would have to be self-reported, right? I mean, that's the.
When we say career and college ready, we're kind of losing that whole experience that kids are still doing. And it's still valuable, and it still puts them, they learn a lot in those jobs. They're not just.
I mean, I can speak to, we have advisory students, and, sometimes conversations are like, what jobs do you have? And it is kind of included in that, and there are conversations with college and career readiness with those students, and, they're part-time jobs, but sometimes they're students who work and do great things, and we don't always find out about it, and they're doing awesome things. And then a big part of the programs that we do is the mentorship piece, as these are adults on the other end that we've kind of have agreed to kind of sign off to kind of mentor these kids and kind of do that sort of work. So I think that between that and, there's a lot of assignments and other things they kind of complete with ours, but there's also kids who maybe doesn't fit in their schedule that still work a part-time job. But
And I think to add to, things, Linda, like one of the indicators we haven't tracked that's been added in some places is the idea of like sort of service experience, right? Or volunteerism. And there's a metric out there that research suggests if students have 25 or more hours, that's another career readiness indicator. So again, it's not that we couldn't, right? But like that's something we could, consider adding as well. And there's things out there. So we know it's all good, right? And students who are in NHS and other things, Service Club, do these great things. And it's not certainly bad. So we always try to do that whole thing of our students are more programmed before they leave us from graduation than they will be until really they have a full-time career. Because, they're here almost 40 hours a week, and then they have activities, clubs, sports, ensembles they're part of, community groups, et cetera. Then they work. And that is a whole nother thing to go down in terms of, if you look at our AP participation and other things, like those things have all increased over the last, 15 or so years in our school astronomically, which is fantastic, but also it's a lot that our students do. So I would know what the right appropriate amount is for any of these things. But our students work incredibly hard in school, outside of school, and beyond. And it's something for us all to keep in mind because, as a parent of a couple of teenagers, it's hard, I feel like, for us to, always keep that in mind when it seems like the answer is always more, right? Take more classes, more AP classes, more experiences, which we want, but also I don't know, what was really, really a lot 15 years ago now seems quaint when kids talk about it in terms of their schedules. And they really are over-programmed. So, yeah.
Anybody else? I'd like to make a comment about 3 or 4 years ago. Mr. Volo, he sat before us and asked about if we would sunset the inroads program, and I asked if how you're going to scale up for. You said everybody needs this type of programming, and I asked how you're going to scale it up. Well, this is how you've done it. Thank you very much. All our students have these opportunities, or as many as possible, and I appreciate that it's been done, and that you found a way to scale it up. So, thank you. These numbers say a lot.
And again, thank you for your support, and really just again if we get a little bit better at trying to figure out more ways for students to access these things. That's where it gets really, really fun and hard and challenging, but that is that real work, so that when we talk about equity and outcomes and those things, it really isn't something I want to feel complacent, and Andy and I certainly aren't, and we know that with your support there's nothing we can't do. So again, we'll see you in I don't know, 8 weeks, I don't even know what, for some courses, and to please support those two.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks. All right, 24-25 policy review schedule. Mrs. Bennon, please.
All right, so you have the policy review schedule for this coming year. Per policy 8410, we always bring this through annually to look at what policies are up for review. So every 5 years, we review those that are either mandatory or recommended by WASB, the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. And then we have some policies that are more local that we review every 10 years. So this is just bringing forth the ones that'll be looked at this year. If they're in that kind of tealish blue color, it means they weren't necessarily up for the 5-year review, but they are changes that, all of them tonight actually, are driven by the Title IX changes. So it's just brief language updates that Jess will go over in a little bit in regards to that. And the other one is open enrollment. We had language we noticed this past year that we need to update in that one, and the timing to bring that in is outside the open enrollment window. So that's why that's coming in this year. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you. Policies 5010, student non-discrimination, anti-harassment, and anti-bullying. 5400, code of classroom conduct, student conduct. 5012, new bullying. 4002, employee code of conduct. 4010, non-discrimination and anti-harassment compliance. 4040, equal employment opportunity. Does anybody have questions or comments about any of those policies?
I was just gonna, do you mind if I,
Please.
thank you. So if you kind of remember, this is like little incremental steps of a big change. So July was the big policy update for new title policy. Now you have 3 student 5,000s and 3 staff 4,000 policies that, because of that policy that you approved in July, now have to be updated. The next step after that, and we're already working with legal on this, will be to update some administrative rules and some student and staff handbooks. So it's kind of a waterfalling effect that all resulted, well, I should say it started with federal government, but then resulted from that policy update in July. So kind of taking you along a path of related updates because of that one law, if that helps you put. So the next level of it will be doing handbooks.
Anybody? Linda, please.
I know I did send you an email about, some of them, they don't have administrative rules. Or it seemed like you could have, you just break it, because the policy is general, and you kind of went into some more of how it was going to be implemented. It's like it seemed it was missing that break. Or where are the administrative rules going to be? Are they still be included in here? Or?
Next wave of the waterfall. So those don't need board approval. So first goal is to get all the policies cleaned up, cleared up, resorted. So administrative rules will come next. We worked with legal on all of these policies. So if some things that appear to be administrative rules are now moved into policy, they are meant to be there.
Okay. And if there are no administrative rules, they will be added to this document.
They could be added, yes, if there needs to be more clearing up or more internal procedures on what these policies will look like, they could be, yes.
And I know we don't have to prove them, but you could let us know if they were added.
We will, and I certainly can, because you're my liaison, so I certainly can, we can talk offline about that too.
Okay, thank you.
Angie,
I
please.
felt kind of excited because I have an Allen level correction. So in policy,
It's also exciting for me.
thank you.
I like,
Policy 5012, student
Okay.
anti-bullying, there are 2 periods after the words on or off school grounds in the 3rd line.
Wow.
It's really emphasizing
Wow.
that end of
Wait,
that
where's
Thank
that?
you.
I'm disappointed.
It's very
no,
declarative.
I appreciate, like,
Thank you.
speaking to from one
Oh,
proofreader
right
to
there
another.
it is, right there.
Does that
did
count
not
as an
catch that.
exclamation point if it's 2
I'm not sure what it counts as.
Or docs
Looks
is
like
great for
sideways
housing,
colon.
but not fun for updating.
Yes, Board Docs is not the most user-friendly platform, so thank you, I'll make sure that gets corrected. The other thing I wanted to make sure you understood, and I put this in the situation report, is it's purposeful that there's a new policy, so the anti-bullying policy is new. Things under Title IX, are covered by federal law. Nobody is saying bullying is right, but it's not part of that federal law. So the recommendation is it becomes its own policy with its own rules and procedures.
And it's not that we didn't have an anti-bullying
It is
policy
not.
before.
They were just combined
just-
together prior. The recommendation is to separate them out. That's correct.
I would, just on that, as long as we're talking about it, not from a grammatic sense, but I just appreciate in that policy the very clear explanations and definitions of what is bullying and what is conflict and how those two things are different, and just I think it just gives a very clear explanation of behaviors in our students. So I appreciate the clarity there.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think many people will. I thought it was it's always been kind of one of those words and things that people use. I actually think separating it out gives it more clarity for people. I agree with that. So there is a request tonight, just so you know, we normally do a first read and then a vote, but everybody across the state and country, I guess, is on this condensed timeline. So this is coming forward both as a first read and an approval tonight for these 6 policies.
And since we talked about this at our agenda meeting, but since we started talking about these, we thought we would ask for action tonight. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the following policies: 4002, Employee Code of Conduct; 4010, Non-Discrimination and Anti-Harassment Compliance; 4040, Equal Opportunity, Employment Opportunity; 5010, Student Non-Discrimination, Anti-Harassment, and Equal Educational Opportunity, and adding the 5012, Student Anti-Bullying, and then 5400, Code of Classroom Conduct / Student Conduct.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion was made by Dr. Beer, seconded by Mrs. Sapersky. Any further discussion?
Can I have a
Please.
quick question? On the anti-bullying, like halfway down, it's per board policy XXX.
Yep, I just marked that, 2100. That's on me.
Oh,
So
okay.
that goes back to that. It should read 2100 where those X's are. We must think alike. I just marked it.
Oh,
I was like, oh, that one should be 2100. Yes,
That's a star.
I didn't catch that one. Good job, Mary.
yes.
Thank
So
you.
2100 is our new Title IX policy, just so people don't, that's what that's referring to.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Tuition waiver requests. We have 2 of them. I'm looking for a motion to approve the tuition waivers as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Larson, seconded by Mrs. Sapersky. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Board liaison reports. Please, Angie.
I met with Mr. Anderson as part of the Community Ed and Rec department, and since it's out in the open, yes, he revealed to me that he will be retiring in advance of this building that he's lobbied for so long being completed. So it's a little bittersweet, but he continues to go full bore in planning for that space. He's really excited for the new opportunities that we're going to be able to program by having dedicated space available all day long. He's also just spoken very highly of his staff, specifically Leah Voss, in terms of the amount of training and sort of the serious professional approach that they've taken to the job. And he reviewed some of the things that he's going to be presenting to us in his formal report to make sure that I understood them. So I helped clarify some things. So hopefully now we will all understand them. So I thank him for his fine work.
Thank you. Mary, please.
This is sort of, because I'm the liaison for Mr. Ekman, but I did 2 days worth of the bike stuff with my daughter. And it was heartwarming and fun, but this is going to sound kind of naive, but it really opened my eyes, which I don't know, it probably should have, they need to be opened, just how challenging some of these young kids students with autism can be. And I can't imagine like what the parents deal with and what the teachers deal with to really educate these kids and, you know, allow them to be in the classroom with other kids, because boy, oh boy, there were 3 adults with some of these kids on these bikes, you know, just making sure that they didn't run away or what have you. So I really enjoyed the opportunity, and it was really educational in a number of ways.
Thank you. Anybody else, or we can move on to school and community engagement.
Well, just real quick, board liaison, in terms of the Education Foundation, as Mrs. Bennett said, we do have the Milkmen game tomorrow night. Rain or shine, come on out, because it is a really great event for our foundation, and we will be celebrating our teachers who have won the Excellent Educator Awards for the year. So it's a big celebratory night. Come on out.
And get your tickets ahead of time using the code through the Education Foundation link, so that the Education Foundation gets the percentage.
Yeah, if you
towards
just
their
buy them at the
fundraising.
window,
If you buy them
you
at
don't
the
get
door,
anything.
it won't happen.
So go online ahead of time with the code. That's available on all your social medias.
Are the awards kind of throughout the game, or is
They
beginning?
do a presentation more at the beginning of the game, so you got to get there early.
I understand that Mrs. Pound will be throwing out the first pitch.
All right,
Wow.
fire up, loosen up.
My music has really prepared me for this event.
Nickname in the office is Flamethrower.
All right, school and community engagement reports.
We had a great time at National
National
Night
Night
Out. A lot of good conversations. It's always a fun event, but the weather was actually nice this year, so that's always pleasant.
Nice to make those connections, yeah.
The ducks were so smart, Darlene. They were such an attraction to the little kids to come and get a little rubber duck, so that was really smart.
And adults too.
Yeah,
Like,
let's be fair.
There were plenty of people who were excited about the ducks.
We did pancake breakfast for the band,
Oh, yeah.
so,
Yep,
in the
that was
rain,
fun. In the rain.
Oh.
pouring rain.
Can't stop it. I had the opportunity to go out yesterday and talk with businesses about our referendum information, and that was really, great opportunity and a lot of positive feedback from the community. So look for the little Seymours out at your local establishments, little tabletop Seymours.
Yes, thanks everyone for going on that. I was there as well. A lot of administration, and I think we got to a lot of businesses and places as well. So yeah, look for the little Seymours. I was also lucky enough to be at the new teacher orientation yesterday. Like I said before, it was nice to see not quite so many people as there have been in
How
past
many were
years.
there? Can I ask?
It's hard to say with
Like 20 versus 30?
yeah, that's
Somewhere
likely
between
the
those two
number.
numbers.
Yeah,
20
that's
versus 30.
roughly the number, Linda, I think. There was far less tables taken up.
Empty tables.
Felt funny being on a microphone in a room that size.
Also, I was at the leadership summit. That was a nice day to see all that energy in the room with the Olympics going on and everybody having their Olympic theme and people treating it as it should be treated, as a fun activity and game, especially the equestrian people with their blow up horses.
That's clever.
That was a good one.
So it's a nice ramp up to school starting. So there's a lot of energy in the buildings, this building and going out to the other buildings. So does anybody else have any school and community engagement reports?
I heard that the scoreboard is up,
Oh.
and I haven't driven by it yet, but somebody said it's ginormous, and I can hardly wait. High school football, man, I'll tell you.
Week from Friday.
Well, I was just going to say is just being anywhere in the district right now, but especially up at the high school, there's just like constant activity. It's really exciting to see, obviously I always pay attention to the band. There's a lot of band activity going on, but also the football, and you're seeing the cross country kids out running early in the morning and things like that. Like there's just a lot of activity. Like the kids are coming back and it's very fun.
All right, future agenda items. Friends of Franklin recognition, summer school report, seclusion and restraint report. District administrator goal setting will be in closed session. District safety plan and goals review will also be in closed session, as will threat of violence drill review. And I'm looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Larson, seconded by Mrs. Witkowski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are adjourned at 7:56 p.m.